What's up, everyone on the World Wide Web? This is Jesse. How's it going? What's up, everyone? This is Jesse, and we are talking about, today I'm talking about monsters and what's the difference between monsters and villains. However, I just want to make a clarification. This is not a normal thing. I'm in school right now, so it's been kind of difficult to always have a prepared video. So I'm trying to do the best I can. But while I'm in school, this is one of my final semesters, so I'm trying to, you know, um, do that, get that finished out of the way, and then I'm going to start focusing, get some more quality videos later on. But you'll still get quality videos. Um, yeah, so excellent. So I was talking to somebody the other day about what the difference is between monsters versus a villain. Um, and they went around and asked some questions to people they know. And it seemed pretty, see, I was interested in doing a video about that all, but it was pretty obvious to people what a villain and a monster were and what the differences were. The main difference is the motives. So a monster has no motive per se, um, but a villain does. So that's the difference between um, villains versus monsters. So it's a very simple, very uh, yeah, just a very simple explanation, which wasn't worth its own video all by itself, in my opinion. So yeah, so I have a book here. It's very interesting. It's called Writing Monsters by Philip Athens. If any of you writers are out there, I'd recommend this to add to your library for writing. It has some things about like what kind of monsters that there are and where the monsters come from. For instance, some monsters come from out there, or they come from the underworld, or they come from science, or they're coming from another planet. So a lot of these monsters have different origins, but a lot of them serve the same purpose. The purpose is to give a boundary or a risk factor for our hero. A hero is meant to push boundaries. Um, these boundaries are meant to be pushed, not meant to be pushed except by the hero, and they tend to take more risk than other characters. So you'll see this in The Village, where the girl is reaching her hand out into the night and pushing that boundary, almost quite literally. Um, so that's where heroes are made, are the boundaries and on the frontier, if you will, of the world. So that's interesting because the villains are they're not a villains because it's a monster. They have a very base desire. Um, but some of the gray area might come from, say, Dracula, for instance. Is Dracula a hero? Sorry, is Dracula a villain or is he a monster? Um, this book would argue that um, he's a monstrous villain, and that is like he has supernatural and monstrous traits, but he acts like a monster. Sorry, he acts like a villain. Um, so it's a little more. That's a little more detail about that. I thought that was kind of interesting. But again, writing monsters by Philip Athens is a pretty interesting book. Yeah, I suggest checking that out from the library or wherever it's sold. Another thing I'd like to highlight is a book I'm reading. It's called Name of the Wind. Let me get that pulled up. The the author and yeah. So Name of the Wind. It's a large novel which I've been listening to on Audible. Let's see. It's Name of the Wind by Patrick Ruffus. Ruffus. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. So it's an interesting book. I mean, it's like 16 hours long. So if you're looking for a novel, a good novel, that's a good place to start. Just a heads up, it is a little slow until like chapter six. Chapter six starts getting actually a little more action. But it's a huge novel. So it's about a young bard, I'd say. He his family is killed by these fantasy creatures, and he can't prove it. So he is on his own, and he's got out to, you know, try to avenge those. But it is a kind of a slower moving. It's his journey to get there, to get to avenge his family. So it's interesting. The magic, it's a hard magic system with some. I mean, it's not entirely clear, but it's fun. Um, so I suggest that. Again, that's Name of the Wind by Patrick Ruffus. Um, give that a look see. And another thing I'd like to bring up that's been on my mind lately is how media should be here to enhance our lives. Not that uh, movies and books and stories are not meant to control our lives. They're not meant to define our lives. They're meant to enhance our lives. So, for instance, I don't want to point fingers or anything, but like there are certain like super fans which their lives are entirely surrounded um, by a certain genre or a certain fandom, right? And I think that's a little harmful, honestly, because there's stories are meant to enhance our lives, to help us to live better, and we're not meant to be controlled by it. Keep that in mind when you're out and when you're reading books, when you're watching movies. Just like take a step back and ask yourself, how is this helping my life? It could be relieving stress. It could be um, entertainment, because sometimes you just need to be entertained. Um, is it making me think differently? Is it making me a better person? Is it inspiring me? So these are good questions to ask yourself when you don't have um, when you're looking and you're reading and when you're watching. A lot of these, um, some of this stuff, like some of the fan fiction, especially, gets to a point where it's just simply entertainment. And don't get me wrong, I do love some entertainment, but the main purpose of stories, the main purpose of movies, are meant to increase our individual capacity, to increase our potential. Our Not to increase our potential because our potential is infinite, but um, but to help us along that path to make us better people. So keep that in mind, and start to ask yourself when you're watching the next movie, when you're watching a show, is this simply entertaining me, or is this a show that is making me think differently? That's helping me be a better person. Now, another thing is, yeah, because there's a lot of if you find yourself now, if you, okay, let's step back, take a step back. Now, if you find yourself watching a show and you're asking yourself these questions, and you find yourself like, well, it's not making me a better person. I'm just watching it to watch it. Well, then I invite you to take a step back. Uh, Hit pause. The movie and show will be there when you get back. There's the great thing about streaming. Um, but then take a step back and just ask yourself, how can I either find something that's worth watching, or how can I go out, stop, and get away from the screen and help somebody else, or to do something that's going to be productive? I'm not always the best at this. No, I don't want to be like a hypocrite because I know that I personally, I love being entertained, but I personally have to like, okay, why am I watching this? And then continue from there. Uh, so that's my tips. Anyway, and those are out by my mind today. So to sum up, monsters and villains are different mostly in motive. Bucky from Avengers is a monster, while Loki's a villain, obviously. So another check out the book Name of the Wind by Patrick Ruffus. And remember, it's not what you watch, but how you watch it that makes you a scholar.